If there's anything that is extremely evident to me in today's society, is that there is a massive failure in leadership. And more every single day, I see the scale tip towards an unfavorable balance within our society. Well, I won't bore you with a memoir, okay, but I am the firstborn. I have 3 younger siblings. The failure in leadership I saw early on in my life is what has made me so emphatically passionate about the topic. My dad bailed when I was 2 years old. I mean, you want to talk about a massive failure in leadership? Check the box right there. Then I go and I get a stepdad who is another failure, where I'm just like, great. So I think early on it was like, here's what not to do. And then of course I entered corporate business where I had the privilege of working with some really great leaders and others not so much. And I got so sick of seeing just the loudest voices, the most obnoxious individuals, simply because they thought that just because they were campaigning for leadership, they loved the attention, like they would get the seat at the table. And it drove me nuts, because what I've learned about leaders, as we have seen very easily across the last several elections, is that not always does the best leader come into office. And that just kind of makes me sick, but whatever. Same thing that happens in our corporations and businesses. And anyhow, it's why I am so passionate about this topic. And I thought we'd just kind of kick things off today with kind of looking at kind of becoming students of leadership, because each one of us is leading where we live in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in our homes, at work, maybe in our churches, or even just in society. I mean, sometimes, I walk into a Costco and I just decide I'm going to be the leader of joy, the leader of politeness, the leader of manners, because holy cow, the amount of people that walk in there and think that they are the center of the world, giving no thought to the other humans that exist and share this planet with them, is beyond me. And so often we think we got to go change the world by going out and building homes in a foreign country, when literally just go be a good human at your local Costco, right? That alone will make you a really good leader. But really what I think, to me, when I have witnessed for myself what makes a great leader, those who got there by accident, whatever, it's the resilience, the courage, and skills that I've gained through like my family responsibilities, through my responsibilities within my faith callings, for sure, the heartache, the failures, those things that I wish had never happened. All those things have molded this view around why I believe the world is in desperate need of leaders with a strong moral compass, because without it, truth becomes flexible. If your entire life were shaped by only the choices that you make in private, your habits, your discipline, your honesty, would you trust yourself as the leader in your own life? Why? Why not? Right? And we're going to kind of think through those things a little bit today. And I'll pull you back in 2004. I was a college student. I was wrapping up my last semester at the University of Utah. I was in a fitness in leadership class when I heard this quote that to this day is the motto that I live by. And it is that the mark of a champion is how hard she works when no one is watching. And I share that with you not to make you feel like, oh gosh, Allie is being self-righteous. More so that because I didn't always live by that code, right? And I'll give you, this is gonna be embarrassing. I was a kid, sure, and you might laugh and giggle, but it all matters, right? It all builds on itself. But I remember maybe I was in 4th or 5th grade, can't remember. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. There wasn't a lot of extras in my life. And at the time, Welch's had a grape soda that was very popular. Again, it was a luxury for a kid like me who just didn't have a whole lot, but I took some other kid's grape soda and I secretly put it into my backpack. I wanted the soda, I couldn't afford it, so I took his or hers, put it into my backpack. Well, here's the thing. You think you're going to get away with it. Well, I can't remember what happened. The student must have complained. And so the teacher decided that she was going to check every single student's bag on their way out the door. Yeah. You can imagine how embarrassed I felt when that soda was found in my backpack. The shame for sure. But then, the failure within yourself. So much so that I still remember it. Gajillions of decades later that I'm talking to you about it. But that, I think, was just one of those moments in my life that I can look back on and say, I don't ever want to feel that way again. Every single one of us has that little Jiminy Cricket or whatever, that tells us, come on, you know better. You know what's right to do here. And again, I share that with you because where I'm going with it is that it's easy to do the right thing when people are watching. Of course, right? Like when eyes are on us, of course, our ego kicks in. We want to protect our image. Our behavior rises to the version of ourselves that we want others to believe about us. But the hard things, like working out when you don't want to, saying no to sugar, maybe turning off that pornographic, movie or whatever that, you probably won't feel great about yourself watching, all of those things behind the scenes, right? When we have to make decisions when no one is watching, well, that's what requires greater internal integrity. And internal integrity is it's a meaningful thing because it's that clear compass that sort of leads you to the standards of truth. And that's a little bit of a shaky thing to say in our environment today because our modern narrative is that, hey, truth is your own, live your truth is what we are sort of told. But standards and truth go beyond an individual opinion. Okay, there's got to be a higher law that demands some kind of unwavering consensus. Because without morality or faith-based convictions, core values of some kind, then guess what happens? Integrity defaults to convenience. So instead of asking what's right, or for Christians, what would Jesus do? We begin to negotiate with ourselves, right? We unconsciously start to ask things like, well, what's easiest right now? What will keep me out of trouble? What will get me to be liked or get me approval? What will benefit me most in the moment? And I think one of the best ways to keep your own boundaries strong is to stay close to the people who would never cross them. Okay, you've heard the saying that we become the average of the 5 people that we hang around with. So ensuring that your circle is tight, that you're surrounding yourself with people that will say, no, come on, you know better. Or that would choose the right thing. If you surround yourself with people that, are just on a higher playing field, they're not going to let you get away with betraying yourself, okay, and betraying others. So I'd invite you to ask yourself a couple of questions. And there are questions that I have had to ask myself and really self-reflect. And that is that, who are you when no one is watching? And is it the same person that you want leading your life? Because if you wouldn't allow that person to lead your own life, well, then you're certainly in no position to be leading others. And looking at like trends, I saw this on social media. I don't even remember really who they were or whatever, but it was this couple at that Coldplay concert, right? And they were higher ups. One of them, I think, was the CEO. The other one was the HR leader or whatever. And these people were in positions of leadership, of leading a company, of being trusted to lead an organization towards, achieving their goals, their success. But then you can't even lead yourself. You can't lead your family because you yourself have silenced your moral compass. Someone who cannot offer loyalty and honor and integrity to the most sacred relationship they will ever have in their life, can they be trusted to then go make the best decisions, sitting in the C-suite? I have a hard time believing that that's possible. You cannot betray your most intimate relationship and then not go betray your partners or your customers, right? Like we want to think, and here's a problem I see. We want to think that these two worlds live in different spaces. That, who I am Monday through Friday can be different than who I am on Sunday, right? They can't. You have to, for me, as someone who believes in God, God does not just watch what I do on Sunday, right? I report to him Monday through Sunday, every day of the week, right? That integrity, that internal moral compass has to be there even when no one is watching. Now, if your life, marriage, career, faith were shaped only by your private habits, would you still trust yourself as a leader? I was told once by someone that I expect way too much from my leaders. And I'm going to be very clear with you that that is very true, accurate, 100%. But the way that I responded to that individual was, the reason that I do is because I would never expect from a leader anything that I wouldn't expect for myself. I was talking with a colleague of mine the other day. They had sort of dropped the ball a little bit, something around, something that needed to happen within the company. And they were wondering why I was making such a big deal out of it. It was a very small thing, right? But I said, look, the Ali Garbero brand is a brand of excellence, okay? I cannot allow you to live beneath that. Not because I'm critical, demanding, hard to work for, but because I want better from all of us, right? Integrity is not like, these characteristics do not get acquired with ease. Like, we all want these really great characteristics of honor and integrity, but ask anybody who has ever served in the military and earned some Purple Heart or any kind of badge that they wear. I promise they will tell you it was earned through blood, sweat, and tears. And what if the real measure of leadership isn't what you do in public, okay, but who you are in private? I have failed many times in my private relationships where I have acted in ways that I would never act. I would never treat a colleague. I would never allow anybody on social media to see that side of me. But somehow it was okay for me to speak in a way with someone that I loved, differently. Like, I had to have a real internal self-check and say, Ali, this cannot be. This is out of alignment. You cannot get out into the world and profess excellence and standards and truth and not begin with yourself, even behind closed doors. And that's why I believe that those hard things matter more, because they expose you to who you really are, not who you're pretending to be. So keep that concept in mind, that greatness really is built by the unseen. Leadership begins in those moments where you are the only person holding yourself accountable. So here's what you can do, as we're all working on trying to be better in the world, is go through and identify gaps between what you say you value and what you actually do. So behind closed doors, with your family, with your leadership team, whatever it is, right? The way that you act and the way that you show up, is it in alignment with the person that you're sending out into the world? Right? They should be the same. And if I had to pick a trait of leadership just for today, it would be to become predictable, be consistent. I remember years ago, I was in Hawaii, the Patriots were playing, it was that famous Atlanta game. And I was on the beach, but I could hear the game behind me at the bar. And, Tom Brady and the Patriots were way behind. But I remember as I was listening to the game, I wasn't too worried about it. I was like, come on, this is Tom Brady. If anybody can come back, it's him. Now, why? Why would I even know or believe that? Well, Tom was predictable. Tom had won many, many Super Bowls beforehand. He had proven that he showed up when the pressure mounted. If you want to grow as a leader, become somebody that is predictable. Someone who's predictable, it gives a lot of, it tells people, it helps people know what they can expect out of you. Okay, so predictability, consistency is a powerful leadership trait. I told you earlier that I've seen such a decline in leadership, and as much as ever, the world needs leaders of character and moral ambition. People who can be trusted in quiet moments, not just the public ones. And again, the best way to stick to your boundaries and be that kind of leader is by hanging out with people who would never cross those boundaries, because we will all face moments when we believe that nobody's watching. And in those moments, integrity, internal integrity will become your compass. Not to make you perfect, but to make you trusted and worthy of influence. The mark of a champion is how hard she works when no one is watching. Be that kind of leader.